Sometimes you meet the love of your life when you're too young to handle it, and I think that was me. I was trying to help him stop using drugs. Tanya Tucker was hit in public by Glen Campbell, but she went back to him anyway. She blew up on cocaine. She hung out with the biggest stars but was turned down by the country music business and lost everything. But decades later, the woman who had reached rock bottom stood on the Grammy stage with the award she had been chasing her whole life. How did a singer who seemed doomed by scandals, drug abuse, and prejudice was able to rise again and claim victory? Tanya Tucker is not only famous for her voice, but also for being one of the most controversial figures in country music. From being a teenage star to a rebel who defied every norm, from her rocky relationship with Glen Campbell, to her years spent drinking and drugging, to her shocking decision to become a single mother, to her public fights with other artists, Tucker never took no for an answer. She faced what others avoided. But her defiance came at a high cost. She was once written off as a relic of the past, but at age 60, she reignited the country music industry with a triumphant comeback. She had spent years on the sidelines of major awards, and it took her 14 failed nominations to finally win a Grammy. This is not a fairy tale. It is a journey of shocks, setbacks, and unexpected resurrections. So what really happened during Tanya Tucker's wildest years? Does she really deserve the title of legend? Is she just a careless soul who got a second chance? Watch this video until the end to find out. Tanya Tucker was born on October 10, 1958 in Selma, Texas. She was the youngest of 3 children. Her father, Jesse Melvin Bo Tucker, wasn't rich or well-known in the music business. Instead, he worked as a heavy equipment operator and took on any job he could to support his family. They moved around a lot, not because they liked adventure, but because they needed money. Because he had to, Bo Tucker would work on an oil rig one day, as a construction worker the next, and then as a truck driver the next. But no matter where they lived, one thing stayed the same: music. Tanya grew up listening to country music on the only radio in the house. The voices of Jimmy Rogers, Merle Haggard, Loretta Lynn, and Patti Cline filled the air every day, seeping into her soul before she even knew it. But what made Tanya different was that she didn't. Soon, Tanya realized that music might be the only way out of her uncertain life. When her older sister LaCosta got praise from the family for her singing, Tanya wanted the same attention, but not for fun. She wanted to be a singer to change her fate. Tanya's life changed when she was 7 years old and told her father she wanted to sing for him. Bo Tucker, a tough man who had seen the harsh realities of life, laughed it off. Tanya wasn't going to let that get her down. She held her head high and sang Hank Williams' "Your Cheating Heart." That's when Bo Tucker stopped talking. He realized something important about his daughter. She had what it took to be a star. From that point on, Bo Tucker put all of his money on Tanya. He sold all of the family's things, bought a sky blue Cadillac, and drove the whole family to Nashville, the center of country music, in hopes of getting her a big break. But reality was harsher than they had hoped. Bo went to every record label and management office in Nashville, but no one wanted to hear a 9-year-old girl sing. Producers just shook their heads and told him she was too young and not marketable, and no one wanted to hear a child sing serious country music. After many rejections, the family left Nashville empty-handed and sad. Their Cadillac was even taken away because they couldn't make the payments. But this setback didn't stop Bo Tucker from training his daughter. Like a warrior, he made Tanya practice her singing every day by making her read passages from her sister's books over and over to improve her phrasing and learn how to put emotion into every word. The most important thing he ever taught her was that you have to put twice as much emotion into a song, because no one will believe a little girl can sing about love or heartbreak. That's why when Tanya Tucker sang later on, she didn't just perform a song, she told a story and made the audience believe. Tanya Tucker's chance came in 1970 when her family moved to St. George, Utah. That's where she and her father met Billy Sherrill, who is one of the most powerful producers in country music and has worked with stars like Tammy Wynette, George Jones, and Charlie Rich. For many artists, getting Sherrill's attention would be a stroke of luck, but Tanya wasn't just looking for a chance. She wanted it all. At first, Sherrill wasn't sure about a young singer like Tanya, so he suggested she wanted to record the happiest girl in the whole USA, a happy, light song that would fit the image of a 13-year-old girl. Tanya politely declined, choosing instead Delta Dawn, a sad, lonely ballad about heartbreak and loneliness, and Shattering Dreams, which was recently performed by Bette Midler on Tonight's Show. Tanya sang about a forgotten middle-aged woman walking the streets waiting for a man who would never come back. Cheryl was shocked and interested as Tanya stepped into the recording booth, closed her eyes, and as she started to sing, it wasn't the voice of a child, but the voice of an old soul that was worn and deeply emotional. As the melody built, any doubts that were still in the room went away, and Billy Sherrill knew that he had found something truly amazing. When Delta Dawn came out in 1972, the song erupted onto the charts, making 13-year-old Tanya Tucker a national sensation. No one could believe that such a young girl could sing such a powerful song. Tanya Tucker's voice was haunting and full of raw emotion. She wasn't just a child singer, she was a once-in-a-generation talent. But success came with a heavy price. The record label hid Tanya's real age because they were afraid that people wouldn't accept a child singing about heartbreak, betrayal, and despair. They wanted people to think she was at least 16 or 17. There was controversy over whether a young girl should be singing such mature and sad songs. But as soon as she started to sing, all doubts went away. Delta Dawn's Tanya Tucker proved she wasn't just a one-hit wonder when her 1973 single, What's Your Mama's Name, went straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. She was only the second teenage country singer in history to do this, after Gene Shepard in 1953. But what made Tanya so special wasn't just the fact that she was so young to have a #1 hit. It was also the way she sang about things that no one thought a 15-year-old could possibly understand, which set her apart from other young singers. Tanya didn't sing happy, innocent songs for teenagers. Blood Red and Going Down, for example, told the chilling story of a young girl seeing her father kill her mother for cheating on him. It was a song about violence, pain, and loss, but it was sung by a teenage girl. Then there was Would You Lay With Me in a Field of Stone, an eerie, haunting ballad full of sensuality and devotion until death, with lyrics that caused a stir. Tanya's music was never meant for young girls, but she sang it with Sue. Columbia Records quickly saw Tanya Tucker's huge commercial potential and decided to take full advantage of it. She never got to grow up like a normal child. While her peers were in school, Tanya was stuck in an endless cycle of recording, touring, promoting, and repeating. She gave up school and her youth disappeared under the stage lights when she was 19. At 19, Tanya Tucker decided she didn't want to be limited to the mold of a country singer, and in 1978, she released TNT. No longer pure country, TNT was a rebellious move towards rock country with fiery, high-energy tracks. She wore a tight red leather outfit on the album cover, and her big hair framed her piercing eyes, which was a stark contrast to the sweet country girl image Nashville wanted her to keep up. The country music establishment was shocked. Conservatives called her a traitor and a wild child, saying she had ruined her career. But Tanya didn't care. TNT was her own thing. The album was certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America and sold over 500,000 copies. This was a big deal because it was Tucker's big change from a traditional country sound to an audacious rock country sound. The album's success not only proved Tucker's talent, but it also showed that people were ready for her to try new things with her music. People no longer saw Anya Tucker as being controlled. They saw her as a fearless star willing to do what no one else dared. Tanya Tucker was once just a country child star, but by the time she was 20, she was already a legend. But her personal life was getting out of hand. She wasn't just a young girl being controlled by record executives, she was drinking, partying, and getting into scandals all the time. She quickly fell into the same cycle that many artists before her had. The brighter the spotlight, the darker the shadows. By the 1980s, Tanya Tucker's story wasn't just about being a child star. Tanya Tucker's story was just getting started. If you think she was just a talented singer, you're wrong. She was a storm that broke every rule, a fearless rebel who challenged the conservative country music industry, and most importantly, a woman who had hit rock bottom but still found the strength to rise again. In 1979, Tanya Tucker started dating the legendary Glen Campbell. At the time, Tucker was only 21 years old, full of energy, rebellion, and a desire to live life on the edge. Campbell, on the other hand, was 44 years old, had been through multiple marriages, and had more than enough life experience. Their relationship went viral, becoming the center of attention for both tabloids and fans. But what the public didn't see behind the glamorous. Their love story was full of chaos and destruction. They loved each other like two wild souls, intensely, passionately, and destructively. Tanya once said that she and Campbell couldn't stay away from each other, but they also couldn't be together without getting into heated arguments. During one of their fights, Campbell hit Tanya so hard that she ran out of the house in a panic. The shocking event made headlines when she said that 2 of her front teeth were broken. When asked about the difference between Campbell's public image and what she had been through, Tanya didn't deny the violence, but she also didn't blame him for everything. She couldn't leave the love they shared, even though it hurt. She said it was the deepest love of her life, but she was too young and inexperienced to handle it. Looking back, she thought that people who fall in love too young often don't appreciate what they have. But drugs made their love even worse. Tanya wanted to help Kay. Glen Campbell later admitted that he and Tanya often used cocaine together. For Tanya, being in love with such a powerful man as Glen Campbell meant believing that everything he did was right, even if it hurt her. She later called that time a whirlwind that destroyed both her life and career. After many breakups and reconciliations, they finally broke up in 1981, leaving Tanya in a state of complete destruction for years after she broke up with him. People called it the love of her life and the deepest scar she carried. The press jumped right on the drama. Tanya Tucker had become famous as a country music star when she was only 13 years old. As she got older and involved in a messy, scandalous relationship, people were disappointed, fascinated, and even outraged. Many tabloids painted her as a tarnished muse, a girl who could have been the princess of country music, but was dragged to the depths by love. Glen Campbell wasn't just the man she loved. He was also the person who led her through the worst years of her life. The public's obsession with them grew as paparazzi photos of their heated arguments and appearances at fancy parties added to the drama. They weren't just a couple. They were a public disaster that everyone wanted to see happen. Tanya Tucker wasn't afraid of the attention she got from the public even after her breakup with Campbell. She continued to publicly express her love for him for years. She never hid the pain he had caused her. She once said, "I loved him so much that I lost myself. When the relationship ended, I was completely shattered." Campbell, on the other hand, often criticized Tanya in the media, saying she had caused too many problems and even implying that she was the reason he lost control of his life. But Tanya never gave up. She didn't run away from her past or deny her love for Campbell, but she also never hid the truth about what she had been through. People became even more interested in their story as the 1980s began. Tanya Tucker became more rebellious while living in California, where she became more dependent on drugs and alcohol. As a result, her career took a hit. At the time, I didn't think much about the future. I was just living in the moment, partying and letting life take me wherever it wanted, she later said. Her father, Bo Tucker, refused to accept this, and he personally traveled to Los Angeles to pull his daughter out of her reckless lifestyle and bring her back to Nashville to start over. If Tanya Tucker said she wanted to go back to music, her father told her straight out, "Nobody wants you anymore. They see you as poison in this industry." This was the biggest shock of all. Even though they broke up in 1981, the affair between Tanya Tucker and Glen Campbell was still talked about. Many people talked about Tanya for decades. When Campbell died in 2017, she came back into the news after releasing the song "Forever Loving You," which was thought to be a tribute to him. Caused a lot of trouble when Campbell's family spoke out against it. Some people thought she was using his death to get attention, but others thought it was just Tanya's way of showing how much she loved the most important man in her life. Regardless of what other people thought, their relationship never went away and was one of the most famous in the country. Recklessness is one of the most controversial love stories in music. Tanya Tucker and Glen Campbell loved each other in a way that few others would have. Their relationship was intense and destructive to themselves, which is why it is still one of the biggest scandals in country music history. But Glen Campbell wasn't the only famous man in Tanya Tucker's life. She also had a romantic relationship with Merle Haggard, a country legend 21 years her senior. Even though it didn't last long, it had a big impact on Tanya. She once said of Merle, "The man I always admired but could never truly hold on to." Andy Gibb, the youngest member of the Bangles at the time, was a pop music star, and Tanya was already used to having passionate whirlwind affairs. This one ended quickly, though, in part because Andy was dealing with his own problems, such as drug addiction and a falling career. Don Johnson, the actor famous for his role in Miami Vice, may be the most surprising name on Tanya's list of ex-boyfriends. Their relationship was short-lived but intense, and like many of her other affairs, it burned brightly. The most serious and seemingly peaceful relationship she had, though it too didn't last long, was with Ben Reed. He wasn't a country legend or a rebellious rock star. He was a handsome, calm actor, very different from the men who had come before him in Tanya's life. For Tanya, this wasn't just another short-lived romance. It was the first time she really thought about what she had never planned, a stable family with no fights or wild nights of partying. Tanya Tucker was never the type of woman to fit into any mold, not even when she was in love. Even though she had a strong connection with Ben Reed, their relationship ended the same way all of her others had. There was no wedding and no public fights in the media. But they did have 2 children together. Presley Tanita Tucker was born in 1989, and Bo Grayson Tucker was born in 1991. Tanya was no longer just a wild country star. She now had to face a challenge bigger than herself. She never thought of being a single mother as a bad thing or a mistake. In fact, she was very proud of it. Even though her relationship with Ben Reed didn't last, he stayed a responsible father who was involved in their children's lives. Tanya may have lived a rebellious life, but when it came to her kids, she was serious, protective, and deeply loving. She didn't need a man by her side or a traditional home to be a great mother. She did it her own way. Tucker thought she might settle down with Ben Reed more than with Jerry Lasseter. They were closer to marriage than ever before, but it all fell apart at the last minute. Again, Jerry was a talented musician from Nashville. Unlike her scandalous relationship with Glen Campbell, Tanya's relationship with Jerry was based on their love of music and understanding of each other. They got engaged twice, first in 1997, and then again in 1999, as if fate kept pulling them together while also putting obstacles in their way. As Tanya Tucker's wedding day got closer, she made a shocking choice. She called it off because she had just found out she was pregnant and didn't want to walk down the aisle in a wedding dress with a baby bump. For some, this might not have been a big deal, but for Tanya, it was something she couldn't accept. She wanted to get married on her own terms, not because of duty or social pressure. Once again, she chose to live her own life instead of letting tradition guide her decision. Tanya Tucker canceled her wedding at the last minute because she didn't want to wear a wedding dress while she was pregnant. Was this the brave choice of an independent woman or just an excuse to avoid marriage? Let us know what you think. On June 25, 1999, Layla LaCosta Tucker was born with the name of Tanya's beloved sister. Tanya became a single mother again, but she never felt bad about her choice. Tanya may not have been the type of woman who would have made a good wife, but she was a fierce and loving mother. Jerry Lasser wasn't just a man Tanya Tucker once loved. He was also her collaborator and co-produced 3 of her most important albums: Tanya 2002, Live at Billy Bob's Texas 2005, and My Turn 2009. Tanya Tucker wasn't one to follow social norms. She didn't have expensive weddings or marriages that lasted decades, but she did have complete control over her own life, something that many people never do. Her children, her music, and an unbreakable bond with Jerry Lasser. Even though her life had many ups and downs, Tanya Tucker never shied away from controversy, and she never hesitated to challenge some of the biggest names in country music. She was outspoken, fearless, and wouldn't let anyone force their views on her, which is what made her not only a music icon, but also one of the most controversial people in country music history. When people think of Dolly Parton, they think of an untouchable legend. But Tanya Tucker wasn't one to follow the crowd. Dolly's fans were furious at Tanya's comment, which suggested that Dolly's voice wasn't always as perfect as everyone thought it was. The media framed it as a rivalry between 2 country queens, but Tanya didn't say anything to explain or apologize. She thought artists had the right to their opinions, and if people didn't like them, that was their problem, not hers. But if Tanya's comment about Dolly Parton's voice was just a light jab, then her comment about Shania Twain was a full-on punch in the gut. When Shania Twain's pop country hits were dominating the charts, Tanya didn't think twice about saying that Shania was only using country music as a way to get famous and wasn't a real country artist. Tanya's fans were furious and said that she was jealous of the new generation and wouldn't accept that country music had changed, but Tanya stuck to her words because she knew that telling the truth was more important than making people angry. It wasn't just Tanya Tucker's controversial comments that made headlines. She also started a heated debate even when she was winning. After years of being overlooked, she was suddenly honored at the 2019 CMA Awards, which should have been the pinnacle of her long career, but instead it started a heated debate. Some critics said that Tucker wasn't at the top of her game anymore and that the award was just to honor her legacy. Some younger artists and fans agreed. Even when people said she wasn't deserving of the award, Tanya Tucker stayed as defiant as ever. She didn't try to make the critics happy or explain her win. Instead, she made one unapologetic statement. If you think I don't deserve it, that's fine, but I'm still here and I'm still singing. And that's exactly what she did. She kept singing and being herself, no matter how many people turned their backs on her. Tanya Tucker wasn't just a country singer, she was a phenomenon. Looking back at the path she paved, no one can deny that Tanya changed country music in a way that few artists ever dared. She wasn't the kind of sweet, female artist that Nashville usually embraced, nor was she a polished icon meant to uphold the genre's purity. Instead, she was a trailblazer who broke down barriers, lived her own life, and wouldn't let anyone define her. This stubbornness kept Tanya in the game and made her one of the most influential IAL legends for generations to come. Unlike the female country singers who came before her, Tanya didn't sing about waiting, women suffering in silence, or tender love stories. Instead, she sang about what she lived, like affairs, mistakes, addiction, and heartbreak that could not be fixed. This made her a unique figure in country music where female artists were not usually seen as strong. Without Tanya Tucker, artists like Miranda Lambert, Casey Musgraves, and Ashley McBryde might not have been able to try new things and stay true to themselves in the way they do now. Miranda Lambert, one of the biggest names in country music today, has called Tanya her biggest inspiration. She saw in Tanya a woman who didn't care what other people thought and did what men did without needing approval. Tanya's fierce resilience and unapologetic attitude paved the way for female artists who they wanted to show off their strength in a male-dominated industry. Casey Musgraves, whose unique style has led to her being called not country enough, drew a lot of inspiration from Tanya Tucker. Tucker taught Casey how important it was to stay true to her art and not follow trends while still making country music on her own terms. It was no accident that Casey was one of the first artists to push for Tanya's contributions to the genre. Ashley McBryde, a singer who is often called Nashville's problem child, is a big influence on her career. Tanya Ashley, on the other hand, never tried to please everyone. She made music the way she wanted and sang the stories she wanted to tell without worrying about what other people would think. Tanya Tucker showed that a female artist didn't have to be perfect to be successful, she just had to be herself. But Tanya Tucker's legacy isn't just about the artists she inspired, it's also about how her signature raspy voice changed country music itself. She was a force of nature who lived, loved, failed, fell, and got back up to become an unreplaceable icon. Tanya didn't just pave the way for brave, unapologetic female artists, she also forced the industry to accept that country music couldn't stay stuck in old rules forever. From the 13-year-old girl who shocked Nashville with Delta Dawn, to the legend who hit rock bottom but rose stronger than ever, Tanya Tucker left an indelible mark. She wasn't just a singer, she was a force of nature. People will continue to argue about Tanya Tucker's controversial choices, vocals, and actions, but one thing is certain, she changed country music forever. Tanya Tucker is no longer the wild child of country music. She is now an experienced artist who has slowed down, but still has a strong passion for music. After decades of scandals, hardships, and endless battles, she now lives a peaceful life in Franklin, Tennessee, with her family, friends, and pets, whom she considers an important part of her life. Do not mistake Tanya Tucker's peace for retreat or lack of interest. She has never faded into the background. Her greatest joy now is spending time with her children and taking care of her beloved horses and dogs. She has also said she wants to do even more, maybe going to Africa to work in orphanages or help protect elephants. She once joked that she would need 200 years to do everything she wants to do, and even complained that Noah got to live for 400 years while she only got 200. Tanya made a stunning comeback in 2019 with the album While I'm Living, which she produced with Brandi Carlile and Shooter Jennings. More than just a collection of songs, the album was a statement of strength and a tribute to a woman who had been through all kinds of hard times but remained unbreakable. The highlight of her comeback came in 2020 when she won her first Grammy Award after 14 nominations. It was an iconic victory and long overdue recognition for all she had done for music. Now, one of Tanya's most powerful songs served as a haunting reminder to love and express love while there's still time before it's too late. But Tanya hasn't stopped at 65. She still exudes the same boldness and charisma that have defined her since the beginning. In 2025, she will continue to bring her music to audiences with electrifying performances. On April 10, 2025, she is set to play at the Cattle Country Music Festival in Gonzales, Texas, a big event that draws a lot of country music fans. The next day, on April 11, 2025, she will perform at the Longhorn Ballroom in Dallas, Texas, which is one of the most historic country music venues. These upcoming shows prove that Tanya Tucker has never been past her prime. She is still a living legend in the genre. From the 13-year-old girl whose song Delta Dawn shook the country music world to the legend who once teetered on the edge of ruin only to rise again, Tanya Tucker has never stopped fighting. Her life may not be a fairy tale, but it is a testament to her strength, bravery, and unwavering determination. Barrett, she has been judged, criticized, and dragged through a storm of scandals, but in the end, she has stood tall. When she takes the stage again in 2025, she won't just be singing, she'll be proving a point. Tanya Tucker is not a legend just because of her time ESS hits. She is a legend because she dared to live a life without limits and without compromise. From the 13-year-old girl who shocked Nashville to the rebellious icon, and then the artist who rose again after scandals. Tanya Tucker didn't just weather the storms, she used each setback to fuel an even bigger comeback. If country music history had a chapter for people who refuse to give up, Tanya Tucker's name would be written in it. Some people love her, some hate her, and some will never understand how she lived and loved, but no one can deny that Tanya Tucker has always been herself, wild, fearless, and never giving in to anyone. When everyone thought she was done, she won a Grammy when they told her she should. Fade into the past. She walked onto the stage with her head held high and kept singing. Tanya Tucker is the only one who can truly define her, and maybe that's what makes her a legend. What do you think of Tanya Tucker's troubled life? Is she an unruly star or a symbol of strength? Let us know below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more crazy stories from Hollywood.